Where'd the thingy go? Thingy go, thingy go. So that's that thing. That's going to be Twitch pinging me. Sweet. Oh, there it is. Lovely. Dum-de-dum-dum. Does it show up in the Discord? Maybe. Oh, Andrew's back. What's up, man? Feels like you were on vacation or something. I hope you were. Connor's asking me to pin something. Oh, yeah. Pinned. All right. Well, my thing that I've been working on this week, just for the stream, I'm not like spending all my time in the world, was is on a CSS starter of my own, because we were kind of called out, right? What was it? Not us specifically, but all developers. It's like you aren't a developer unless you've made a CSS reset, or was that the name of the article? Yeah, from Mike. And then we took some things from Mike's reset too, because it had some interesting stuff in it, but mostly stuff that I don't care about. And I was like, I'm a CSS dev. I'm gonna make my own CSS reset, although we gotta stop using the word reset because it's not a reset. First, let's grab this thing and we'll put it under principles, and I'll be like, inspiration was that, and but really the first principle of this is that this is not a reset, it's a starter. It's for me. Do it feels useful to me. Use logical properties, do accessibility things that are easy to forget about, but are, I don't know if I need a but I just feel like there was like this whole thing about aria busy that looked like an interesting one that we found in a style sheet. And I was like, oh, this looks smart, but like, I don't think I've ever used aria busy in my life. And I made the call to not put it in my CSS starter, because it's like, it's not, it looked like it was trying to fix something that people forget about, but like, I don't want it in my starter because I probably will never use that. And then it's these lines of code that are being applied all the time that will never do anything and whatever. Another one is this, this Jonathan Snook article that I, even though I'm doing the opposite of what he's saying here, is that he's done lots of projects over like decades and he never uses a CSS reset. It's just not part of something that he needs or thinks about, because, you write CSS, and through the virtue of writing CSS, you're like resetting and fixing things. And it's like, you just don't need this separate file to do this job. Sure, fine. But what I'm taking away from that is, instead of like not having one at all, that it's like, don't like load it up with stuff. We don't really even need this at all. So if we are going to do it, put stuff in there that's just like obviously useful and feels useful to me specifically. And that we're not loading this thing up with like, oh, here's some like margin properties and like useful little bits and bobs to use. This isn't a useful little bits and bobs thing. Maybe with an exception here or there for like an accessible hiding class or something like that, but we're not going to like load up a bunch of custom properties in this starter to use something like open props for that. Those are the principles so far. We also have like a maybe list of things to think about. We have a list of stuff to like learn a little bit more about, and a to-do list of things we definitely want to do but just haven't done yet, like that accessible styling class. Like, I want my starter to have like a nice little looking HR in it. That's how my HRs look, which is probably like a black line with ample spacing above and below it. That kind of thing. That's not a reset. That's just an opinionated thing that I like to have available to me. So those are our notes. We're not really looking at the preview because the preview I grabbed like a HTML kitchen sink kind of thing. So it's useful to look at once in a while in here, but I don't like love the HTML that's being used. So I'm more worried about what's here in the style.css file in this particular pen. Don't call it a reset. Sweet. We also started by looking at lots of like old stuff all the way back to Eric Meyer's famous reset. That was pretty cool. And then we just looked at lots of like just normalize and sanitize and a bunch of weird ones I don't even remember anymore, looking at old stuff. And we finally got up more to like modern times. So we still have some tabs to get through. So let's just get started doing it and see if there's anything we can steal from it. Now this is Jen's, which makes it worth looking at just because it's Jen's and she's smart at CSS stuff, but it's a little old. Initial commit 7 years ago. It's not like old, but certainly older than most of the rest of these tabs we have open. Remedy. So let's see what we can find in here that's cool. Box sizing border box. Everyone in the world has that. Normal line sizing. What is line sizing? I think of line height. I don't even know what line sizing is. See, we're already finding useful stuff. Line sizing? That's inline sizing. What's line sizing though? There's 12 examples of inline sizing, but not line sizing. See, I guess that's the the problem with stuff that, text box trim. Oh, do you think it's related to that? Anyway, whatever Jen is linking to here is not useful anymore. Consistent line spacing, even when inline elements have different line heights. That doesn't exist anymore as far as I can tell here. There's inline sizing, but I don't know that that's the same. This property specifies how the logical height of the content area of an inline box is measured in relation to its contents. There's no effect on the... I just don't know what it... I don't know. It's interesting to me, but it's certainly too weird and not real to be in my starter at the moment. But that's kind of almost should learn more kind of thing. Wipe out that margin, absolutely. Fixing hidden. We're even doing it with important in our style sheet instead of just display none, because it's just such a strong indicator that you want that to be hidden, that it's like, nope, that thing wins. So that's how I roll. Very tempted by something like this, although would you make it fluid typography instead? I don't know. The only typography thing we have so far is to set like a higher line height than default on the whole body for like copy, and then on headers, because they're bigger, that's too much line height, and we make it smaller, but just on the bigger ones, not the smaller ones. That's all we've done for headers. But I kind of have I feel like I want to touch them just because I know what the default looks like. It makes the H6 smaller than the body element, and I hate that. So I do want to fix it, but I don't know if I want to fix it with just straight up sizing like this, especially that. Look at that. I would want my H6 to be 1 rem probably, and then go up from there. So I'm not super sure what I want to do with a starter for those yet. We'll probably end up with like the fluid type scale. Is that the website? I tend to like this, although I'm starting to be a little bit more convinced that maybe something a little bit more elaborate is smart. So not sure. Okay, not doing that though. Margins for H1s, even when nested. Remember, we just looked at that they have now changed H1s. They are all consistent whether they're nested or not anymore. We did this one. We took this one, the pre-wrap on just to prevent overflow bust outs. It's the same kind of thinking as putting a max inline size of 100% on like iframe and image and all these things that could be wider than their container, possibly. Oh, is this a nice HR? Does Jen share my love of just having a regular ass HR? Let's see. We could steal this. We don't have an HR yet, right? Nope. And note, we're being sloppy in this reset for now and just dumping stuff at the bottom, and we'll have to organize it later. So what's going to happen to this HR? Nothing? Really? Or did this just, oh, it is. It's just a black line. Interesting. That is exactly what I wanted. Apparently, I have channeled 7 years ago, Jen Simmons, because that is exactly what I want of an HR, only mine would be even more so. So margin block, I think I want it like 2 rem. I usually want, like, if it's an HR, it's really trying to like kick crap away. Why is it? It's being a little slow on the restart here. I am in Chroma Canary, which probably won't have anything to do with it, but maybe. Is that HR not display block or something? Why isn't this margin block kicking? Oh, it's because margin block is both. 2 rem on both sides. Is that enough? I'm going to go 2.5. I'm getting spicy. I think HRs really need to push the crap on top and below away. It's like a total change in context. I like my HRs bold like that. All right, let's see what Andrew has to say here. I think a starter needs to choose between good for building into an eventual design versus trying to be good universal design base, which is this, the latter, I assume. Being good, so the number 1 is being good for building into an eventual design versus trying to be a good universal design base. I think that does need to be thought about better here. But, you know, so that's what these principles are kind of for. It's defining what this thing is actually like. What's the spirit of this thing? And I think it's probably more like for demos and starting new projects. Is that too vague? Because it's possible that I was going to start a new project that was going to ultimately be real, and then I would grab all this crap and throw it into a new style sheet for a new project, and I wouldn't like call it reset.css. I would just have it be the style.css file, and then I'd move stuff around or whatever. You know, I wouldn't. It's not intended to be like something that you npm install or something. Maybe that's a principle. Like, this isn't a thing you're going to npm install. It's not for that. It's not like, what, I'm using version 3.8 of the Chris Coyer starter pack. Absolutely not. It's just like a chunk of CSS that you can grab things out of or start with and mess with if you want or whatever. But on a kind of quote unquote real project, or even something like I'm just working on my blog, I'd probably take the typography stuff and move it over to a typography file. I'd have a layout chunk. You know, maybe I would continue to have kind of a reset thing. Maybe I'd have like a utilities CSS file. I'd put some of this stuff in, but when I'm done with this thing, it probably will just sit here as a pen, probably. And then, or maybe I could host it as an asset in our assets and link to it, or we can, and this isn't quite working because this is still in private beta, but you can copy a URL to the CSS file in a pen in the new editor, and it'll have some URL like this, which is the UUID of the pen at CodePen user content. So that's like, it's similar to just hosting as an asset, only it's linking to a file in a pen instead of a file hosted by assets. That could be a way to do it too, whatever. Yeah, okay. So that's the plan so far. It's good to keep these principles because, yeah, it's like, you know, obviously the principles behind normalize I always thought were like very respectable. It was like nothing goes in the style sheet unless it's fixing a problem that multiple browsers disagree about. That was like a great system for normalize, and people used it, and it is the kind of thing that could be versioned and updated over time. Whereas this is just not that. It's just like, I like this stuff. This is very generic CSS that I just like and I want to use. It's like almost like I wish this is just what the browser just did. I wish I didn't have to write any of this stuff. Maybe that's a cool principle. Like, This is almost a list of things I wish were the browser defaults, i.e. in the user agent style sheet. And it's not like me being like, I'm going to propose this, because the user agent style sheet is probably fine. Like, I'm not well researched enough on what should actually be in a user agent style sheet. I'm sure my stuff is way too opinionated to ever make that happen. But it's like, I just wish in a sparkly way, like I just wish that this is what was there, because I write these lines of code a lot and I wish I had to write it less. All right, I love that. I love that we dealt with the HR, which means our to-do list. We can get rid of HR from our to-do list. That's cool. Responsive embeds. We're already doing all this, but we're not doing canvas, embed, or object. I do those things less. I'm tempted to not put those in there. If I'm doing a canvas thing, I'm like probably pretty specifically doing a canvas thing and I can deal with it then. This is rare. I've done it like twice in my life maybe, so I'm not going to like put it in my style sheet because I never do it. An audio element that doesn't have controls is display none. That's clever. That's clever, but it's like I don't think that's going to come up very much. It's not something I'm like pining to put in my starter. It's more of a fix an oopsie kind of thing. Okay. Some picture element stuff. That was probably pretty new 7 years ago, and I'm not that worried about it now. I don't really know what's going on here. Like a source element, display none. It probably already is. That's weird. Height auto on these things. Sure, we're already doing that, I think. Making sure there's no good reason elements default to 300 pixels wide. The audio files are unlikely to come with a width attribute. That's kind of cool. So those like MP3 player audio element kind of things where you just push it, they're just 300 pixels wide and there's just no good reason for that. Kind of cool. I mean, if I was going to do that, I'd probably do this too. Because it's like now I'm dealing with audio elements, but we do have audio in here already. We have audio here that says display block, max inline size of 100%. I think what would happen on an audio element is that it would still just stay 300 pixels wide. What I'm going to do? I'm going to remove audio. Like, I just don't think that's that important. It probably is already a fine display value. 300 pixels is narrow enough. It's not going to be a blowout problem, probably. And the block size doesn't matter. The border style doesn't matter. I'm just not going to deal with audio elements, I think, in my starter. That's my deal so far. And this is just saying force them to be 100% wide. I don't have a problem with that, but I already made the call. Legacy browsers border, not worried about that. SVG we're going to deal with specially later. That's on our to-do list. Fixing HTML5 elements, we're long past caring about that, I think. And fixing box sizing on these elements, we're already going to be doing that. You'd think that this would handle that. Box sizing, border box. That's probably not necessary here. They'll already be caught. And no padding on checkboxes and radios. I don't know. IE10 stuff. It's interesting. I guess 7 years ago, I guess Jen was still thinking about IE10, and I just don't care. Is there anything different in here? Reminders. It's interesting. It's just one big comment about things you could do. Interesting. It's kind of like our to-do lists or research lists, in a way. Like, remember we saw this before in another style sheet, was that like if you knock off the list style of nav, then screen readers can be like, oh, that's not a list and I'm not going to announce it as a list. But if you put this, I guess we could look at the blog post. I think if you put whatever content character this is in the pseudo element, that it it reads as a list again. So you could do this, but that's not really helping. This is the trick. You add a 0 with space in here and it will announce as a list again. The question is it still a problem? This was a long time ago. It has been 8 years. In 2019, it went around again. Test, test, test. So I don't know what I think about this. This seems like a maybe kind of thing. Like if that's one of the principles, which is, you know, where is it? Do accessibility things that are easy to forget about. I think that would make the list. I just don't know. That's been a lot of years since this is passed. Is it actually a thing again? We can put that up here. We don't need Mike's link up there. We already linked it up. Okay, pretty good. That's that. Quotes. Ooh, I don't think I'm terribly worried about that. So it looks like probably this was used here. It was a fun thinking exercise, but probably didn't go much further than that. So we're done with that one. Let's do Andy's. This one got a lot of attention when it went out, and this is what actually stuck in my mind because I ended up writing about. I miss Arc, how it would like show me stuff I've recently been to from my own site. Andy Bell, if I just look for that, will it show up? No. Piccalilli. Reset. Yeah, I wrote this blog post where I like picked at all of his little things and said what I would do differently. So I guess when we look through Andy's, we can refer to myself a couple of years ago. Andrew, you do role equals list style unset. That might be on Andy's. Maybe we'll find it. That might be the same fix as the pseudo element fix. Excuse me. All right. The reset in its whole. Thanks for putting it all at the top of the article, Andy. What a team player. Of course, we have this. This is probably the most important thing at any reset. Not doing the inheritance model. We're doing that. I think I picked that out right away. I was like, you know what? If you're going to do it, just do the inheritance thing instead. Although I guess I disagree with myself. Look at, I'm putting single colons in here. In my real one here, I have double colons. No need for that old school single colon garbage. Prevent font size inflation. Remember, this was the Killian article that we read. That was like when you turn your iPhone, it can increase the font size of it, and that's stupid, and it should stop doing that. Where did we put it here in the should learn more, and we did a little quick test, and it looked like it was still happening. And the fact that it's in Andy's is, I guess we probably should still do it. God, you still need all three of these? It bugs me because it's the HTML elements. So it's going to be right at the top, you know? And Moz, really? Why do you need the Moz one? Look here. This might settle it right now. Sue's saying she likes it when you turn the font size and it turns, or when it gets bigger when you turn it. But what was Killian saying though? Like, is your preference, not that your preference doesn't matter, Sue, of course it does, but like is he just saying like, I don't like that, or is there some bigger point to be made? Mobile Safari increases the default font size when you switch a website from portrait to landscape. On phones, that is. It doesn't do it on iPad. Funny. So you add all these three. Safari only supports the prefixed version. Chromium supports the unprefixed version, and Firefox on Android, but not Desk, has support for the Moz prefix. So this is a problem even on an Android phone, and you turn it sideways. It still has that problem. But it says Mobile Safari does this. So why do you need the Moz one if it's just Mobile Safari that's doing the problem there? All right. So it was people were doing this all the way back in the normalize and sanitize days. Reboot does it as well. This new reset, do we have this on our radar? What is this? I don't think we have this on our radar, so we're going to have to look at that one. Is that it, though? Should it be in your reset? A situation I think very people look thoroughly. While unevenly zooming in text probably won't break your site, it can end up making your site harder to skim and understand, or it could help your site be easier to skim and understand, right? Should it be in the resets? Out of 7 resets, And they're in the 3 quote unquote heavy ones, whatever that means. Killian thinks we should do it. Text sizing increasing randomly in a single situation is exactly the type of thing you want to guard for with the CSS reset. But still, what's the, like why does it do it at all? And what's the problem with it doing it? It's one thing to just say it's a problem, but like, what's the deal? I'm tempted to be a contrarian here and kind of agree with Sue. Like, it doesn't, unless you can point to something that breaks because it happens, I'm not inclined to mess with it. So we're not going to. Sorry, Andy, not going there. Remove the default margin for some elements. Aren't we doing, I don't know. I mean, certainly you want to do it for body. We're kind of keeping it on some of the H's for now because it hasn't proven itself to be a problem. I don't know. I think if I was going to do it, I'd be a little more comprehensive than that is. Remove the list styles. If the role is a list, then you remove it. That seems backwards to me. It's like you think if the role was a list, then you would put it back. But if you're using the OL just because you, I don't know, you have 5 nav items and you want to put them in a list for whatever reason, then you'd remove the list style. I don't know. What are we doing for lists? Don't we already do something for lists? Maybe not. Oh, here. Yeah, I'm ripping off the margin and padding, and then we punted the style inside so that it doesn't hang off. So we get that going on. It's a little dangerous, though. What I don't like about ripping, like I hate the default margin and padding on lists. It's like too much and too weird, and I'm always resetting it. The implication, though, is then you get this. So there's some nested stuff going on. So that means that nesting is now going to be on us, which is less my favorite. But it does mean that we could go from here. We could go UL, OL, DL. And is Prettier forcing it onto one line like that, or is that us doing that? Like, that should be like that in the reset. Let's see what Prettier does. I bet it's going to smash them down on one on each line again. And then you went like padding inline start of one rem. That should handle the nesting all the way down, right? Friggin' Prettier. Yeah, so we get that. Is that okay? It's tempted to do it like based on characters or something, like, I don't know, kick it 3 characters in or something, or like whatever 1 or 2 characters in, because that's what we set our tab size to at the top. So like kick it basically 1 tab in. It's 2 characters is gonna be super narrow though. Oh no, that's kind of okay. All right, sick. I love that. Okay, fine. Set the core body defaults. A minimum height on the body is okay. You know, our default pen had that for a while. I think we're changing it as of today. But like, I don't know, sometimes that's nice because sometimes it's a little bit of a gotcha when, stupid camera. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a gotcha when you have a background on the HTML for some reason and you have a background on the body, then the body's background doesn't propagate to the HTML, and then its height is only less than 100 viewport units high, and it can look weird. I don't know. I'm not sure I'd put that in a reset, though. Like, I think I get the point. I'd probably put DVH on it at this point. Yeah, Sue's been using small viewport height. That's fine too. I think you'd get the same benefit from DVH probably, that is like smaller when it needs to be. I like the big line height though. I'd probably put it on the HTML just cuz keep all the typography stuff on one level. And then okay, me and Andy agree on this. I just put it on H1, H2, H3. I reduced the line height. Interesting that he puts less line height on inputs too. I wonder what the point is of that. if you're going to style it, like maybe our button style should be just pretty isolated to just a button and like a label. I'm not sure. That feels like a little graspy. I would need to see like more of the thinking there, I think. Ooh, yes. balanced headings. Ooh, I'd probably almost definitely do that. And probably across all the headers and not just stop at 4 there. We stopped at 3 up here because I think once they get small enough, the 1.4 line height is probably fine. But for headings in general, I think you'd want to balance them. Heck yeah, that's what I was hoping for. Get some modern stuff up in this reset. Yes, okay. All right, anchor links that don't have a class. Anchor links that don't have a class get default styles, meaning you skip ink auto on the underlines, but you make their color the current color. I don't know. I don't think I love that. I think links should probably have their own different color. Right? And do you need skip ink anymore? All right. Well, now we got to test stuff. Pen.new, and we'll just rip a freaking lorem in here, and then some of this stuff will have an anchor tag on it, so there's a link in there. It's already skipping ink. Like I know that's really small. Should we blast it up a bit? You can see the G there, at least in Chrome here, it's skipping ink already, so we don't need that. But you know what I did like? I did that front-end masters article on chill underlines. Chilled out text underlines. I do kind of like this where the underground, or it's pushed away and it's a little lighter than the color of the link. I liked that. Empty href and no href all get rendered differently. Hi, Bolly. Thanks for showing up. Is that true? So if there's no href at all, then what? You just get nothing. It's like it's not even there. And then what if you have href with no value? You still get the skip ink look. And then if it has a value, I can't imagine that changes anything, does it? Oh, it's not visited, so it's blue, but yeah, I mean, I think that seems fine. But I think I liked where this ended up. Let's see where it ended up. It started a big discussion about accessibility, in which I held to I don't think it's worse. I think having blue underlined links is fine. I was not convinced. Will only apply the opacity underline when the link is not hovered or focused, meaning that when it is, it will be removed as a hover state. I kind of like it. I think Anna pointed me to do this, right? Yeah. Cool. Let's take a cool Anna trick. I'll take it. So in our typography, if we do that, it pushes it away a little bit and chills out the underline on it. Heck yeah. I'm taking it. I didn't do the push away though. Did I close the tab already? I'm a little aggressive on closing tabs, I think. I can't even get back to it. Where's the blog post? See, don't you feel like Arc would have gotten me right back to where I was as I was just there? Hate it. Where's the point where I push him away? I mean, obviously, I could probably just remember it. Okay, there it is. First, you push it away, then use current color, but we're already doing that, sort of. That's basically it, right? Underline, but you get the default anyway. Yeah, there's nothing to be said here, and we don't need that anymore. But we are going to do... Oh, no, I zoomed in too far. So we'll say A's, all A's, just do that. But on all A's, we'll push this away, and then we can turn this into an ampersand and push it up. I think that might be our first use of nesting in this whole style sheet. which like doesn't bother me. Pushed away and chilled out. Done. Love it. It's my style sheet. I'm going to do what I want. Okay, thanks for the nudge, Andy. All right, images are maxed out, but we're using logical properties. You got to do picture too? Why picture? Why does that matter? Should we use GTP5? OpenAI. Log in. Isn't it out? I thought I saw news that GTP5 was out. Why don't I have it then? I was going to be like, give me some HTML of a picture element with sources in it, please. I like to say please, so it uses a little extra electricity. Picture pen.new, and then we put this in there. How does it, I know that's going to be a bunch of broken images, but we'll get a sense of what the picture element does. Is it display block? Is there any? No, it's display inline. It's almost like not relevant. Like what would matter if I said max width 100% on that? Like a display inline element, it doesn't even, max width doesn't even matter to an inline element. I don't think that matters. I don't think picture matters there. I'm not going to worry about it. Inheriting with form elements, we are already doing that. I love that, but you just go font inherit, and then you get it all, which is better, I think. Text areas without a rows attribute are not tiny. Yeah, cool. Otherwise, it's like three line. But why don't we use that really modern thing? What's the really new modern thing where text areas can grow and inputs can grow automatically? That should totally be in our reset. I can't remember what it is. It has a weird name. Text areas that auto grow. Modern CSS. I just forgot. It's like fields. Is it field sizing? Yes, that's what it is. Oh, sweet. And it's a one-liner, which feels very good. Oh, that's a different trick. But yeah, we should definitely rip some field sizing. In what, though? In text area for sure, but in input 2, is it just those two? Would it just be text area, if you spell it right, and input only? And like which inputs? Like input type date doesn't matter, but then field sizing on is probably just ignored anyway, right? And is it field size normal? Let's see if our little rendering, because I think inputs, they'll go wider too, right? See, that's not working. Is it not field size normal? Is it some other? Is it field size grow or something? Let's see if it works on the text area. Because I thought inputs were supposed to grow in width, whereas text areas grow in height. Yeah, that's not freaking working. Did it just not? Render right? Yeah, it's not doing anything. What's up with that? Text area, styles. Oh, it doesn't like normal anymore. Did it change? What are the values for it now? Field sizing content, is that the new thing? I did not know that. Ooh, then it squishes width. Not sure I like that. A, B, C. Okay, so that's kind of the behavior, but why is it so freaking narrow? Do you have to then force the width bigger, or what are the other options? Fixed, inherent, revert. No, it's content. Okay, well, that's a horrible value. What would you make the width then if you don't want it to collapse? Do you say min width of like 300 pixels or something? You just invent a magic number? I mean, I agree. We should use min inline size, but what value? 100%? 50%? 300 pixels? What do you put? 60 characters? I don't know. Ooh, and then but it does force these to be super big? Why? So if we had the longest email address in the world, I think it's going to keep stretching. No, it's not. Dude. I thought that the point of this was to make it, and now is the text area going to be super wide? Now it's going to be just, what if the min inline size was 6 characters? Is it going to be super narrow now? Was 60 characters just way too big? Yeah, I guess it was. So now it'll grow, right? Get out of Dodge. Okay, we broke it apparently because it's not working at all now. Or is it just returns that make it bigger? Oh, I put it to normal. Content. Okay, jeepers creepers. Get wider. Yeah. Yes, that's what we want. Ooh, sorry, I made my face in the way. I need to learn how to stream one of these days. And then this is this. Should we just do like 72 characters, the optimal line length? I don't know, that feels weird. What was it doing before? How was it sized before? Now it's too wide. Why is it wider than the viewport is? Like, why is it causing horizontal scroll? Because my min online size is too far. 72 characters is too much. 34. Whatever I said here is like, it's not just setting a minimum, it's setting a maximum too, really. That's obnoxious. So it's going to grow. That's fine. Oh, it's not. I guess it is kind of setting it's not really setting a maximum. It's just a minimum. I don't know what to say about that. I do not like that magic number. So that's a to-do, I guess. To-do. I really like field sizing. I really don't like having to set an arbitrary size. Well, just think about it. Maybe it'll come to me. And yeah, what is the size? Oh, right. You're saying Bally's saying I feel like text areas need to be more than 1 line tall by default to know it's a text area. Yeah, absolutely. So now we need a new block size too. And Andy made it pretty big on his, right? 10M. I feel like we could use LH units. That would be like an appropriate use. Let's make it like 6 LH units or something. So it'll be 6 lines tall. Oh no, that's all inputs now. We definitely have to make that. Maybe just text area we'll deal with. We'll deal with the inline size issue too and just let the inputs be what they were. Oh, they're so narrow now. Nope. The inline size is gonna have to come along for the ride for the inline inputs too. Is that too tall? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is almost perfect. See, when I go down to the 6th one, it's a little too much. So the LH units like almost work, but for whatever reason, they're not perfect. I don't know if it's the font or what. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 6 doesn't quite fit, so it has to grow a little bit. Oh no, I think 5 is probably better. So I'm not super satisfied with that, but having field sizing in the reset, I do like. It's just like, look at this mess that it leaves. It feels very messy. Okay, pretty cool. And then the last one in Andy's style sheet is anything that has been anchored should have extra scroll margin. Scroll margin in the block direction. So I know what he's saying here. It's like when you link to, do I have a header in this blog post? I probably don't use headers all that often in my blog post. I wonder if I do here though. So if I was going to link to this, does it have an ID on it? I'm sure it doesn't because I'm lazy. Maybe it does though. Is there an A with a layout? Yeah. Okay. So there's a thing. Oh, it has an ID on it. So if I were to go to and link down to it, it's not headbutting the browser. Why is it not headbutting the browser? Am I already doing this? Some kind of scroll. I am. Scroll margin block start of 4 rems. So the reason that this isn't, if I didn't have it, and I did this again, it's going to headbutt the top of the browser. And I always thought that was a little awkward. And if there's anything fixed position up there, that can be kind of a problem. So yeah, I use the scroll margin block start there. And Andy's saying scroll margin block. So in either direction, which is probably a little smarter. And what is EX? I don't even know what an EX unit is. What is an EX unit in CSS? The EX unit is the X height of the first available font. Is Andy just trying to be fancy here or what? Maybe we'll do LH units too, because we'll be fancy too, but like just arbitrarily. So, and would it only be headers or would it just be anything that's a target? I think that's clever of Andy to be like anything that's a target should have scroll block margin. But why not just scroll margin? Why only in the block direction? Maybe we should have it be in the inline direction too. Scroll margin of, I don't know, 3 line heights. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. I think of it mostly as affecting headers, but it could be anything that is targeted. In fact, in the Discord just earlier today, I was looking at the targets of stuff that's inside details elements that we could probably stream about that another time because I think it's probably simpler than I was making it out to be at the time. All right, we did Andy's. Let's see how much I disagreed or agreed with him in the past on it. The inheritance thing I thought would be cooler. I tentatively agreed with the adjusted, but meh. Nuking margins. What did I say? I'd probably be more comprehensive. I think that's what I just said now. This was a head scratcher. Andy explains it's to make sure Safari doesn't wipe out the correct accessible role. To make sure that a role is added, I remove the list styling by default for it as a little reward. Oh, fun. So like if you want to get rid of the list style, then you add role as list, which gives it its semantics back, and your reward is that you get list style none. That's very twisted to me. It's so weird that I like it again. I don't know. I can't see myself doing it. Although it's one of the principles is to do accessibility stuff you'll forget about, but that's not automatically doing it. It's like making a little work for yourself. Right. Yeah, I've seen this kind of thing too. You're like, I don't. You could use it for a buttons too. It's like if you, as soon as you put a class on something, you're putting the class there probably to style it in a way of your own. So then start wiping stuff away if there's any class whatsoever on it. A little too clever for its britches, I think. I mean, what if the class is there for some kind of JavaScript reason? What if the class is beyond your control for being there? What if you want the class, but you like the margin styling that's already on it? I don't know. It's a little bit like there's too many what ifs with something like that. Fine. Me putting on HTML element instead. We did do that. We stole that. Hell yeah. Auto is already the default. We're inheriting all of font. Fair. I like using rem instead of m. We ended up using LHs. And the X unit is showing off a little. I vote for 1 RLH. Oh, no, I wrote something. I don't even know what it is. A root line height. Ooh, yeah. If we're going to show off, let's just show off, huh? We'll make it a root line height element. Let's verify that's what it is for sure. RLH unit. I wrote about it 5 years ago, so that's nice. Is it for sure? The root element. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Ooh, not a very long article, huh? And Sime is saying with 1M. Oh, I see. If you're positioning the size of an icon, an LH unit is super useful for that. That is a strong use case. God, it takes a minute to look at that graphic and see what he means. But yeah, it like centers it nicely, or it sizes it visually nicely. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So we finished Andy's. Thanks, Andy. And we have yet to look at Reboot, Mayank's, Ellie's, Josh's, Jake's. We might do Fluid Type, whatever this one is, and that's it. So we'll finish looking up those, and then we'll make some HTML to go with it and make sure it's useful. And then I'm going to call it the Chris Coyier Starters Pack and become a CSS influencer and make like $50 on YouTube probably. So that's going to be awesome. See you next time. Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Obviously, the stream's a lot better when you fix my mistakes.